talk about them in class quite often, and with my interpersonal studies classes, sometimes we use stereotypes to help us identify personality traits in high school. So at Granbury High School, we have our athletes, stereotypically called our jocks. We have emos. We have our people that, typically are, I don't know how to explain. You would want me to explain them, but you know what I'm talking about.
You can explain them if you want. I had a guy cuss on a video earlier.
Really?
Yeah, he was like, and then there's the
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, perhaps typically are the kids who are dressing more, I guess you would say, conventionally, and probably looked upon as the kids that are academically off to college, and their parents are probably teaching them different types of ways of dressing for success, really. And let's see who else. We have got me stumped.
What about the kids, like, okay, how you said that there are preps that they're considered, like, higher up, better with grades, dress a little more conventionally. What about the students that don't have the best grades and don't dress as conventionally?
Okay, there is a coin of phrase for kids, and I'm not even going to say it.
Does it start with a D?
I don't condone it, and I'm not going to say it. But yeah, unfortunately, we see that some of our kids that come from the socioeconomically disadvantaged, that don't have as much as others, through circumstances that aren't even their fault, we see sometimes they're looked upon in a different way. And sometimes their behavior, along with the way they look, can put them in a category where they're being stereotyped as well. And I think it's very unfortunate.
Do you think there's a difference between choosing to dress and act a certain way, or you don't have the option?
That is a good question. And I am going to say that there are a lot of students, not a lot, I would say that there's a population of kids who choose to look a certain way for the attention. They don't want to dress the way they've been raised. They want to be different. They make choices to look like the kids who typically are, I guess you'd say, more rebellious. So I think there is a choice where kids do look a certain way and they openly disrespect the rules. We see kids up here all the time who break dress code just simply because they don't want to follow the rules. So sometimes the stereotype goes towards making them look like the kids. Maybe it's like we don't know whether they don't have the money to dress properly or whether they're just being rebellious. So,
can you compare stereotypes from when you were in high school to now? Like, is there a huge difference, or is it not that big of a difference?
It is huge. It is so huge because, I went to school at a time when we weren't even allowed to wear pants. Can you believe that?
So you had to wear, like, long skirts and stuff?
Well, it wasn't even long skirts back then, but it was at a time when, we didn't wear tennis shoes. We wore shoes, dress shoes, we wore dresses, skirts. So we were automatically not allowed to wear pants until I was like sophomore or junior in high school. Getting to wear jeans was like huge. I think my senior year we finally got to wear jeans. But can you imagine not even being allowed to wear pants? So yeah, everybody dressed different. There was less of a top and bottom as far as how you dressed. Everybody dressed, I think, more conventionally because that was the school dress code, and back then we weren't allowed. There wasn't, your parents enforced the dress code. It wasn't the school, it came from home, and parents knew that when you send your kids to school, this was the expectation. And now there's so much more room for leeway in our dress codes. So I don't know. It is more complicated now because our dress code is more diverse.